As Avenger lies trapped in the web of the great black widow, and that hideous spider crawls ever closer, he finds his mind drifting off to simpler times, moments before he was embroiled in such madness as led him to this place. How could things have got this bad? How did he come to this? Well, now we get a little insight into his past, and a time that led to all these events. A time before he was Ninja. I am Ninja. My parents are the heaven and the earth. My home is my body. My power is loyalty. My magic is training. My life and my death is breathing. My body is control. My eyes are the sun and the moon. My ears are sensitivity. My laws are self-protection. My strength is adaptability. My ambition is taking every opportunity with fullness. My friend is my mind. My enemy is carelessness. My protection is right action. My weapons are everything that exists. My strategy is one foot in front of the other. My trust is in quality. My way is the way of the tiger. Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry and it's time for some more of The Way of the Tiger. Now, in our last episode we had recovered the second flag and thus guaranteed ourselves a place in the final. However, Aiko, our fellow initiate, was slain by foul sorcery. And we have regrouped with Gorobe and Daon. There's clearly some kind of evil magician. And, of course, not to mention the monks of the Scarlet Mantis out to get us. This is no simple training exercise. Let us continue. You join Gorobe and Daon in a cheerless trek along the isolated road, soon little more than a dirt track west into the snow-topped mountains. A lone sparrowhawk wheels above you, giving a plaintive, mournful cry. Soon the dirt track narrows further, so that you have to travel in single file, the rock leviathans leaming over you as you make your way uphill. Who is behind these attacks on us? Gorobe asks. Daon shakes his head, too troubled to speak. You say it has to be Yaemon. Who else would hate the followers of Quan more than the man who killed Grandmaster Nagishi and stole the scrolls of Ketsuin? I think we're letting our hatred and anger get the better of our judgment here. He is our mortal enemy, Gorobe responds, but he is no mage. Aiko was overcome by a spell. You remind him that Yaemon was reputedly able to steal the scrolls of Ketsuin only due to borrowed sorcery that made others believe he was a monk of Quan. I wonder who he borrowed that sorcery from, Daon says darkly. Now,
I would have been very tempted many years ago to actually say Form for Master of Illusion, not Mance for Death Mage. But now it would be very easy to blame an existing character rather than adding a new one. But that being said, I don't believe he did borrow the sorcery from Form, but rather from some additional character who never enters into the story. You know, plausible deniability and all that. Not wanting to rely too heavily on one particular ally or another. The weather upon the trail turns increasingly cold, and soon you are walking over a light dusting of snow. Not all can be blamed on Yaemon, Gorbe says, however much he has taken from us. He then changes the subject. This is not the first trial I have undertaken on this island. I made it to the final fight in the Temple of the Rock, and was defeated by a whirlpool throw. Me! Throne! I have plans this time, though. Neither of you will be able to stop me like that again. And if you remember way back at the beginning of Book 1, you'll know exactly what he's referring to there. The contest no longer matters, Dawn mutters. Just like during the Black Lotus Rebellion, someone is trying to eradicate us. This is about survival. The contest is still important, Gorbe says. We cannot abandon our ways in times of adversity. Just think of all the good a Grandmaster... You hold up your hand. You hold your hand up, forestalling all conversation, hearing an eerie whimper rising out across the land. You're on a thin gravel path, perhaps halfway up one of the mountains. Whatever made that noise is alive, and it is coming closer. Then a silhouette of a robed figure appears on the snow-covered crest overhead and raises its arms high to the sky, a serpent staff in one hand. Even your keen vision cannot detect its features above the snow's glare, but its eyes glow red. Dawn is already clambering up the slope towards the figure, whilst Gorbe moves further ahead on the trail until under the cover of an overhanging rock, adopting a martial stance. Creeping over the craggy heights around the figure come a dozen or so white dog-like creatures with twitching wings and yellow eyes. They are Hainu, and they make a whining noise in anticipation of a bloodletting. They swoop down from the mountain heights at you, blue-tongued mouths slavering. We could follow Dawn's charge at the robed silhouette, or join Gorbe in a defensive position underneath the overhanging rock. Now, this is an interesting decision. I am going to believe the figure is actually here and not some kind of illusion, because it's directing the Hainu to attack us. However, and this is why it's an interesting decision, we know as a player that Gorbe will be alive at the end of the book, and he'll be alive in Book 1. If he dies, then we're failing our mission and on the way to some kind of auto-kill or other, right? Even the non-lethal kinds of auto-kill where it's just like in Fighting Fantasy Book 2 or Fighting Fantasy Book 3, which actually does allow you to loop around to the beginning, which is interesting, because there's only 2 or 3 Fighting Fantasy books that actually do that, and only one that explicitly does it. So, arguments for and against. First off, I'm going to check if there's a picture. Oh, there is. Excellent. We are absolutely checking. Oh, you're kidding. We can? Okay. Well, that's this episode's thumbnail sorted. So, is Dawn supposed to die in this encounter and Gorbe and us continue on? Or are we supposed to defeat the robed silhouette, which will somehow break control over the Hainu and they'll be less coordinated and maybe scatter. It's clearly too far to throw a ninja star. So, here's the thing, right? Darn's death could be optional, as in, we could reach the end of the adventure successful with him alive or dead. Is this about surviving the ambush or taking down the wizard quickly? Furthermore, I find it highly unlikely that this is the wizard who was using spells to kill Aiko, because the wizard using spells to kill Aiko seemed to be operating from much further away. And arriving here this quickly it doesn't quite match up. So I think this is a different character or creature. I'm feeling it's a kind of undead creature. So, if we're rushing out to try and take down the robed silhouette so that we don't all perish and lose the adventure, that is... I mean, Darn could still die while we're doing that, and then Gorobei could emerge after the fight and say, well, at least I survived. Maybe he's killed a few of the Hainu down underneath the rock. And him hiding in a defensive position is an explanation for why he survives and makes it through to the end of the book, while Darn perishes and we do the fight. Alternatively, charging out with Darn is foolish and gets us badly mauled, and hiding with Gorobei is the way to survive and get to the end of the adventure. Right, so the figure with a staff and eyes glowing red as it summons magical energy. I don't think it's a figure with permanent red glowing eyes. It hasn't directed any offensive spells down at us. It seems to be just summoning the Hainu from the surrounding area. Not conjuring them from another dimension, but, emitting a call that they are... Now that's an interesting thing, right? So, first and second edition, summoning spells force a creature in the area to come and arrive and do the caster's bidding. It's only in third edition when they magical Disney poof, it comes from another dimension and appears instantaneously. Yeah, first and second edition summoning spells, you'd cast a spell and then you had to wait for the thing to arrive, and there'd be a random time you'd have to wait because it would be physically traversing the distance. Yeah. And then there were higher level spells, conjuring spells that would bring creatures from another dimension. And then there were the higher level spells with portals and gates and stuff like that, and planar travel. AD&D got very, very high powered very quickly. When you looked at a lot of the utility spells, the low level utility spells should have been much higher level. You had things at level 2 which should have been level 4 or 5 spells, right? And generally, as you went up in levels, all you saw was spells with bigger damage numbers. In terms of utility spells, like invisibility was a level 2 spell. Anyone who was a level 3 magic user could cast invisibility, for example. And generally then, though, you had the plus and minus thing, where the cleric was the plus and the wizard was the minus. The cleric adds hit points, the wizard takes them away. Or rather, the cleric keeps you alive, the wizard landscape gardens the opposition into a sheen that is smeared across the contours of the scenery in front of you. Right, so let's look at this for a moment. We have been, in this very conversation we've been having, where are we? Down says this is about survival. Gorobei has clearly taken that to heart and taken up a defensive position. Now, what are the advantages of being underneath the overhanging rock? Could a lightning bolt shatter the overhanging rock and cause it to tumble upon us? Quite possibly. However, I think the main reason of taking a defensive position is to deny the spellcaster line of sight to us. I don't like leaving Darwin out there on his own, though. Wow, and I've only just started the episode. Okay. So what seems to be the prevailing thought, the prevailing mindset of the author here, in terms of the theme of the adventure we've had so far? We have had fights that need to be completed very quickly. You know, kill the person in 2 or 3 hits sort of fight. So this may be a rush for caster. But my gut's telling me take a defensive position with Gorobei and don't get, and hope it's not an auto kill. This doesn't look good for Daon though, unless he realizes he's out there on his own and comes running back. You move alongside Gorobei, hoping to use the rocky overhang as cover from the Hainu's swooping attacks. The Hainu glide down from the mountain, landing on the track to run in on you both, 3 at a time. White blurs of fury, jaws snapping. Roll 1 die plus 4. Oh, that's a lot! We have a 6 because we rolled a 2. This represents the total number of Hainu that attack you and Gorobei for the duration of this fight, which you should record. Choose an attack from those below and make 1 attack roll. If you hit them, 1 Hainu will permanently flee the fight. After each attack, do not forget to account for Gorobei defeating 2 Hainu as detailed further below. Oh, excellent. We can punch or kick, throw shuriken or poison needles. Well, we're just going to have to punch and kick then. If you fail to hit, the Hainu immediately bites you. You must take 1 die damage or attempt to block. For each Hainu, or 1 total for the swarm. Your defense for a block is 6 as you struggle to stay in cover and not impede Gorobei. In this case, blocking forces a -2 on your next shuriken or poison needles attack, just as it does for punches and kicks. So they automatically hit on the first attack, then we are making a block roll, rather than having a defense roll. Oh no, I think it might just be saying, the block penalty applies to all attacks. Whether you succeed or fail, Gorobei grabs 2 Hainu and bangs their heads together. The 2 injured creatures whimper and flee, reducing the total number of Hainu by 2 to represent this. If instead only a single Hainu remains, Gorobei dispatches it with Tiger's Paw Chop. If there are any remaining Hainu, 1 more will rush in at you and you must attack again. Oh, okay. So they're coming in 3 at a time. I fight 1, he fights 2, then the next ones come in. Of the potentially 14. No, 10. But we only have 6 to deal with. Alright, so. Must take 1 die damage or attempt to... Okay, so you do get hit, but you can block. Got it, okay. So we will throw a ninja star. Damn it. Okay. We will roll to block. We block. And Gorobe kills 2. 2 more come rushing in, and 1 is waiting at the back. We are now fighting at -2. Not going to waste a ninja star, because we now only have 4 left, and we may not be able to recover them. We attack unarmed, do naffle. We can take the damage or block. We shall block. Wait. We need 7s to hit. I think we'll take the damage. Our endurance is at 20. We will take the hit. 6! Oh! Almost knocked the wind out of us there, but Gorobe slays 2 more. We will throw an attack at 1 and miss completely. We will attempt to block. Your defense for a block is 6, but they only need to hit the defense on a block. So we are taking damage again. 1 whole point. And Gorobe slays the remaining 2 that have beset us. We didn't land a single blow. That's how rubbish that was. If you survive, you will not be able to retrieve any shuriken used as the Hainu fly away. When all the beasts that you faced have been put to flight, you peer out to the slope above. Daon has survived the various Hainu that peeled off to attack him, and continues on against the mage silhouetted on the mountain atop, on the snowy mountain top. The mage raises his serpent staff, eyes are glowing an infernal red as he screams out arcane words. A tremendous wind whips up all around the mountain, but Daon continues straight on at him like a force of nature. Maybe now we should be charging to support him, because even if he's taken down, we can follow up and finish off the job, theoretically. Daon launches a flying kick at the mage just as he finishes his spell, and there is a tremendous flash and thunderclap. A ponderous... The bloody rock's falling on us, isn't it? A ponderous rumble accompanies a great cascade of snow from a mountain peak, sweeping away everything before it. You start to clamber up some rocks as quickly as you can, whilst Gorobe throws himself behind an outcrop. We should have just stayed under the overhang. The crashing snow sweeps you away from your perch and down the mountain. You can do little as you are spun over and over until you come to a rest buried deep in snow. Lose 4 endurance points. Not because it's bloody cold, but because of tumbling and being bashed about all over. If you're still alive, then you are on 9 endurance points, and it hurts a hell of a lot. I still feel that running out into the open may not have been wise. You do not know how much time has passed. All around you is darkness, and a cold so deep that it seems to suck all the warmth from your bones. I also suspect that while fighting off all the Ainu, was it? No, Kainu? Daon is probably pretty badly hurt by the time he makes it to the mage. You have no idea which way is up, and you are running out of air. You calm your racing heart and trust in your instincts, burrowing out of your white tomb until you burst from the snow into daylight to draw breath. The landscape around you has been transformed from a rocky slope to smooth snowdrifts, disguising ravine and path alike. You rest for a moment, gulping in the mountain air. There is no sign of the mage or of the Hainu. You check that your equipment has not been lost in the snow, and much to your relief, you find it is all still with you. With a silent prayer of thanks, you get to your feet and call out for Daon or Gorobe, but get no response. You can no longer see the trail now that all has been covered by the avalanche. Nor can you see any pitfalls, so you will have to watch your step until you can find a trail. We can risk ravines and snowdrifts to search for our fellow contestants in case they are trapped in the snow. Absolutely! Or trust that Quan watches over your fellow contestants and press on west. No, we should look for our friends. Quan would want us to do that. You tentatively make your way through the snow, stepping lightly in case it should give way beneath your feet. You have not searched for long before you spot a lone Hainu snuffling around something. You break into a run, the snow shifting unstably beneath you. You hurl a handful of snow at the Hainu, and it takes to the air with a whine flying away. You see a human hand poking out from the snow. You dig rapidly, uncovering a figure buried there. It is Daon, gravely wounded and barely conscious, but alive. You pull him out, shuddering at his gruesome injuries. You strap his mangled left arm to his body and start to apply bandages to his wounds as the snow beneath him stains red. You tell him not to worry, but you will get him to safety. You consider your options. The way back to Nasaka is now blocked by the avalanche, and you could never carry him as far as Eiger. Daon stirs but shivers so violently that you fear it may reopen his wounds.
You have to leave me here.
You tell him you cannot.
I survived an avalanche, he says. I may yet survive this.
He tries to stand, leaning heavily on you, but it is too much for him, since one of his legs is badly broken. He sinks back down to the ground with an agonized groan. As carefully as you can, you lift him onto your back and carry him to a rocky ledge nearby where you sit him down. He watches you with his right eye, his left gummed with blood. If we had run up there, we might have been able to throw a shuriken at the magician.
Did Gorobei make it?
He asks. You say that you do not know. After a pause, you ask him what he will do without you if the Hainu return. Daon does not answer your question.
Be careful. I think the mage is still alive. He vanished just before my blow landed. Damn him! I will try to enter a healing meditation. You need to go on without me, my friend. My trial is done.
You ponder your options. It may take some considerable time to get Daon to safety, assuming sanctuary can be found, and would mean you may not make Eiger in time to complete the trial. You doubt Daon could survive any kind of attack or prolonged exposure here, and you know nothing of this healing meditation. You have either to leave a fellow devotee of Quan alone and badly injured here in the mountains, or effectively give up on your quest to become Grand Master. Can't we try to get him to a safe location, then leave him there and continue on? We can say we'll try and send help back for him. Oh, this is tough. If we had Gorobei here, he could probably carry Daon on his back. No problem. You know what? We'll carry him on our back and look for help as soon as we get out of the mountain range. I know that seems like a pretty big warning, but I'm hoping beyond hope that there's a chance here. You tell Daon that you will help him to safety before you consider any other course of action.
You would give up your chance to become Grand Master in order to help me, Daon says.
Maybe that's the wise thing to do right now. You tell him that you will not have any more friends die on this island, and that you have not given up on your dream of becoming Grand Master quite yet. You undertake a quick search of the area for Gorobei, hoping to find some help in lifting Daon, but you cannot find the big monk, and it is growing dark. You head back to the ledge to find that Daon is unconscious. You raise him up on your back, using your body heat to keep him warm as you start to walk across the bitterly cold snow that you sink into up to your knees with each step. Your only consolation is that Daon's body heat helps to protect you a little as well against the mountain's biting chill, and it lets us know he is still alive. You continue step after step long into the night, your breathing laboured, your legs laden with the extra burden of weight, plodding through the mountains of unlimited devotion, in your desperate search for assistance for your friend. Unlimited devotion it is. I'm not sure we would be judged too harshly by fellow monks if we left him behind, but you never know. Right. Wait, is this like the end of the Mahabharata, with the king who takes the little dog up the mountain to heaven, and at every point, people try to stop him, to take the dog away from him, and he refuses, and in the end, the dog is the gatekeeper who can let him into heaven. You trudge on in the darkness, relying on your years of grueling endurance training as your legs burn and your back aches with the weight of carrying your friend. It starts to snow, growing more intense, adding to the drifts underfoot. You slip and stumble as you pass a rocky outcrop, nearly falling back down the mountain. You can go no further, and you find a sheltered alcove against the cliff where you gently set down. He is still unconscious, and his skin is hot to the touch, drenched with sweat and fever. You look up to the stars above, trying to gauge your position. All you know is that you have been heading roughly west, cross-country, unable to find any trail in the dark, and time is running out for Dawn. Doubts about your ability to find help in time begin to gnaw at you. You could make far quicker progress on your own, but you do not believe Dawn will survive without you. Your decision weighs heavily upon you. We could leave him where he is, or carry him onwards. If we choose to carry him, you are so weary that you know you are vulnerable, should you be attacked, yet you continue until you are utterly exhausted. Through lips so numb you cannot feel them move, you intone a prayer to Quan for help. Note your current inner force, roll a single die and add the two values. Our current inner force is 3. I'm not going to say it. Shit! We are fucked. All I had to do was roll higher than a 1. The only answer to your prayers is the mournful howl of the wind and the crunch of your footsteps. Oh, for fuck's sake, and we're dead! And the crunch of your footsteps through the snow as you slog on into the darkness with Dawn on your back. Your skin were cut by the harsh air. Your skin, where cut by the harsh air, is succumbing to frostbite, and your muscles are near to unresponsive. Roll 2 dice, plus 2, and take that much damage. We live on 3 endurance points, but we live against all the odds. We're not screwed just yet. The wind whips up a blizzard which stings your face and makes your steps falter. Dawn's still form feels as heavy as a boulder on your back. Step by step you can feel that your strength and will are slowly being sapped by the storm and the weight of your burden. You sense movement before you in a flurry of snow and can just make out a large creature creeping there on all 4s. You curse your ill luck and lower Dawn to the ground, preparing yourself for combat. You catch just a flash of blue eyes and a furry whiskered face. Your breath catches in your chest in awe as you recognize it as a large white tiger, the spirit tiger of Quan, reputed to be his chosen emissary in the world of men. She looks at you for a long moment, making no sound, then disappears off into the darkness. You stand, uncomprehending. Has Quan abandoned you? Maybe we should follow the bloody thing. Then you see the tiger's paw prints left in the snow. With haste you collect Dawn up on your back once more. You follow the paw prints on into the cold darkness, your faith keeping you moving forward on a trek seemingly without end. Eventually your legs give out and you fall to the snow. Lying beside you, Dawn stirs.
"Are we lost?"
he whispers. You point at the paw prints in the snow, only to find that they are gone. Your faith begins to waver, and you wonder if it was all just an exhaustion-induced hallucination. Then, in the distance, you see lamplights moving closer in the storm. Let us hope they are friendly. You awaken abruptly. You are on a futon in a small room illuminated by daylight from a small window in the sloped wall. Above you hang bamboo strips marked with words bearing testimony to the creed of Ao. You realize that your wounds have been healed and your spirit feels at ease. Restore up to 12 lost endurance and 1 point of inner force. Not that we've used any inner force, but we are now back up to 15 whole endurance points. The beads of the doorway part as a young woman enters and bows before kneeling beside you. She is a priestess in golden robes bearing the symbol of Ao, god of peace and weal, and that looks like... oh, no picture. Well, it looked a little like there might be. "Welcome, disciple of Quan," she says, pouring you some warm tea. "Normally only those of Ao's pure faith are permitted here, but in a vision I saw Quan's emissary outside, and I beseeched the head priestess to send a search party out into the storm. This is the great temple of Ao, the greatest wonder of our island, and you are safe here. My name is Divine Orchid. Do we know where this temple is on the map?" We do! Hooray! And we still need to try and get to Iga. I'm not sure we'll be able to exact vengeance on the ones who did us wrong. You thank her for helping you and take the proffered cup of tea. The warm liquid soothes your parched throat. You both stand and you ask if Daon still lives. "The most esteemed of my order gave sanctified ministrations to him throughout the night, and through blessed Ao your friend will now live. Before you see him, though, I must know of the evil that stalks you. Recently I have felt a malevolence coalescing in these peaceful mountains, heavy and dark like a lodestone drawing all the shards of evil from their deepest holes out onto the surface. You say that you know little, save for that many attempts have been made to kill you and your fellows, and that an unknown mage appears to be responsible. At least for the moment it appears that this mage has overreached himself," Divine Orchid says. She parts the beads in the doorway and asks you to follow her to see Daon, who, while alive, may never fight again necessarily. Maybe he's going to become a monk of Ao, as they have saved his life. Divine Orchid guides you into a large room containing shelves of medical instruments and herbs, and Daon is lying in a futon in the middle of the room. He sits up a little at your approach whilst Divine Orchid leaves to stand outside the doorway. "No words can express my gratitude for your help, my brother," Daon says, reaching out his right hand to clasp yours. "How is it possible you could have carried me so far?" You reply that Quan walked with you. You ask him how he is feeling. "Like a mountain fell on me." He says... I've lost my place. Like half a mountain fell on me. I must remain here for a while yet to heal and recover my strength. I will not make it in time to Iga. You commiserate with him and say that you will make sure they keep the ship waiting for him. "No," Daon says, "do not. I got chased off this island many years ago, and I mean to take my time to leave it this time round, to finally be free of my past. You should go and become Grand Master of the Five Winds. There is none more worthy. You tell him that you will avenge Aiko. Only if you beat me to it. Once I get my strength back, I will find out who killed Aiko. I will tear up this island for answers if I need to." You remain quiet, your thoughts turning to the events of her death. Daon breaks the silence by asking how many flags you have, and you tell him that you have 2. Do you have the flag of Nasaka? Yes, we do. But we could have less than 2 at this point. Why do we automatically tell him we have 2? If we do not have the flag of Nasaka, he might have it. That could make and then he could give it to us. Because we're not allowed to take it from each other, but if it's given. Anyway, we have it. In which case, there is nothing more than to say farewell and be on our way. And my throat's getting really dry. I might need to go grab a drink. In fact, that's a really good idea. One moment. Having wet my whistle, I feel somewhat ready to return and continue. All right. You advise Divine Orchid that you must depart with all haste, for you only have 2 days left to reach Eiger. She leads you down the stairway to the doors and outside to a scene that takes your breath away. You look up to see that you have just left a pagoda-style building rising 6 stories to rival the mountain crags around it. Surrounding the area are waterfalls, spilling down into a dark, jagged gorge. Spray hangs in the air from the waterfalls, and the hazy morning sunlight sparkles off the golden spire on the temple roof, making the whole scene before you appear to shimmer. There are numerous golden-robed priests of Ao meditating by the waterfalls, or chanting prayers as they walk across the dustings of snow. Divine Orchid tells you that many pilgrims face the deprivations of the mountains of unlimited devotion, gladly just to bear witness to this scene. You thank her for all your help, and she says you are welcome to come back as you may. You head onwards through the snow, heading west. Is this the glorious sight? It is indeed. Some of these waterfalls seem to be pouring out of the air rather than over the edge of something. Well, onwards then, to the west. The respite of the great temple does not last long, for as soon as you are headed along a thin mountain trail covered in snow that again comes up to your knees. Hang on. The respite of the great temple does not last long, for soon you are headed along a thin mountain trail covered in snow that again comes up to your knees. The snow resumes its fall, light at first, but growing heavier until it becomes a blizzard, and you think back upon the temple refuge as being like a dream amidst the harshness of the mountains. No kidding. You continue with all haste, keen to avoid any encounters that may slow you down. Your head is bowed against the driving wind as the snow intensifies, all but blinding you, and leaving your skin raw with the cold. Are you carrying an orb of Ao? I don't believe we are. I do not believe we have been blessed with such a thing. And even the magical bracelet we gained is broken. So unfortunately that means we're probably vulnerable to magical attack and scrying from a distance or something. It's not like the priestesses at the temple could have just given us one. You shiver uncontrollably and feel your strength eroding under the elements. If not for your training, you would have already perished here in these conditions. You stumble on, your white ninja hood covering your raw face and your arm raised against the cutting wind of the blizzard. We could dig a hole in the snow to wait out the snowstorm as best we can. Yes, that actually works. Seek out what shelter we can to wait out the snowstorm, or pray to Quan and press on regardless. I think we've already had one miracle from Quan. Trying for another may be pushing it. But digging out a snow shelter, that actually, in real world, that can work quite well. Although, in Nasaka, we did say we would always do Quan's bidding, but that's not doing Quan's bidding, that's praying to him for guidance, or to save us. He's already been very grateful and kind. Let's dig out a snow shelter. You find a snowdrift and start to scoop out snow with your bare, numb hands until you have a hollow big enough to shelter in. Shivering, you curl up into a ball in the hole and wait for the storm to pass. After hours spent huddling in the cold damp, you have lost 3 endurance points. Possessing a high-new skin reduces this damage by 1. We have no high-new skin, so maybe if we'd run out to fight instead of staying in with Gorobei, we would have somehow obtained one. But that takes us back down to 12 endurance, which is, it is what it is. If you still live, you find that after a couple of hours the storm has broken and you continue with renewed hope heading downhill. You find a trail again, and you look back, and as you look back you see that the worst of the mountain range is behind you. That's excellent. We've got 2 days to make it to Eiger. Uh-oh. Picture section. Looks a bit of a more hostile mask. Let's find out. The air turns increasingly temperate, and the sun pokes through the clouds as you follow the trail down west along a worn dirt path between the towering rocks, sneaking down through wooded valleys where the snow has melted. At some points, the trees are so dense that their canopy forms a roof above you, in which flit small birds, their songs filling the air. Eventually, you reach a lake fed from the numerous waterfalls and streams in the area. The lake itself spans the whole valley between 2 towering leviathans of mountains, which you pick your way along the edge of. That's the word leviathans used again in rapid succession. Well, not that rapid, but relatively close together. You take the opportunity to remove your white ninja costume and assume the clothes and appearance of a travelling pilgrim. Let's look at the map. Presumably, the forest of Ashigaru is near. As we're heading through the last couple of mountains, just if that's a 2-day journey, it might not be. It might be less, but we have only 2 days to make the journey. So then we've progressed about this far into the day, so it's still relatively early, theoretically. You trek on, the rocky terrain gradually giving way to rolling hills, then lush forests. You take a brief rest and eat some apples from a tree and may restore up to 2 lost endurance points. we get to go all the way back up to 14 over here instead of... Yeah, cool. I'm not overly fond of the word trek. I was very disappointed. As a child, when I was 7 or 8, maybe 9 years old. No, 7 or 9, not 8. I remember which classroom I was in at the time, but I was in the same classroom twice, but with a year in between. All the kids in the playground would go round singing, "Start trekking across the universe, boldly going forwards because we can't find reverse. Start trekking across the universe, boldly going forwards because we can't find reverse." And I thought, start wrecking across the universe. Oh, that sounds amazing, like a great big train just crashing into everything and destroying everything. I was very disappointed to find out that it wasn't start wrecking, it was star trekking, and trek was just a boring word for a little walk. And I was like, well, that's crap. What about the great big demolisher train armoured carriage thing that was going to be smashing everything up? Yeah. Never happened, apparently. Oh well. So, we've restored 2 lost endurance points. As you continue down the trail, you see black shapes moving in a grove. You creep in between the trees and see that it is crows which are pecking at the naked corpse of a man who has been staked to the ground, his insides splayed. You turn as you hear someone moving up the trail. You see a samurai dressed in blue who wears a helmet that obscures all but his eyes. The cloth at his ankles has been torn in places from his travels in the forests, and his hands cautiously drop to the hilts of his sheathed katana and wakizashi. "I saw it all, stranger," he says. "That man and his assassin. They both were without honor." And is he one of them? Is he the assassin? He certainly looks the part. He's not really wearing enough armor to be a samurai, and his garments seem a little too low class, almost. I think this should be longer, or these should be more baggy. Hard to tell. And is he speaking to me? If so, he sees me, and I'm not hiding very well. Okay. Perhaps he will request our aid in tracking down this bugger. "My name is Rin of the Three Blades," the samurai says, "and I've been wandering these bakemono-infested forests for days." You have heard of the bakemono, twisted humanoids that are native to the island. You ask Rin why he is here. "A tribe of bakemono attacked river vessels from Takahiri, and I was tasked, along with 5 others, to lead a punitive raid into bakemono territory. The bakemono were waiting to ambush us, and I alone fought my way out. I have heard it said that some spellcaster has brought the bakemono out of their tribal hunting ranges in enormous numbers, in order that they patrol near these mountains. Beware the bakemono, stranger, for as well as their savagery, some of their tribes know of magic." You ask Rin what happened to the man in the grove. "I was resting nearby when I heard fighting. A ninja of the Way of the Scorpion had tracked another through the mountains and left him mortally wounded for the animals. I overheard the assassin telling him that he had failed his mission because he only killed the daimyo of Lemne, and not his wife Singing Wind as well. They also spoke of a traitor amongst Singing Wind's guards, who will soon try to correct the mistake." Oh, that's not good. You vow quietly that you must send word to Singing Wind as soon as you reach Eiger. Those who follow the Way of the Scorpion revere Nemesis, the supreme principle of evil. Rin tells you that he plans to make for Eiger and then catch a ship to the east of the mountains, which are too treacherous to cross at this time of year, ultimately heading back to Takahiri. We do not have a pair of ivory dice, and do not wish to give them to him. I'm not sure what that might mean, but I feel that another playthrough in which we headed to Nara and Takahiri, which it could very well be where the ivory dice come from, could lead to some interesting results. If you found a fellow contestant after the avalanche and wish to seek medical help for him, I mean, he's at the temple healing. If you say that you're an enemy of these ninja and tell Rin the truth of your journey, he could be one of them. I don't trust him just yet. Now, you say only that you're a simple traveller on a pilgrimage to Eiger. Instead, advise Rin that... Oh, look, I've just got to go. So, he tells me where he's going, and theoretically all this is true and we have no reason to distrust him. A friend is hurt, send help. But he's already in a safe place being healed by the priests and priestesses of Ao. So, I don't feel... Oh, sod it. Let's be really risky. We'll tell him we're an enemy of the ninjas of the Way of the Scorpion. And tell him the truth of our journey. And he'll be like, aha, I am a ninja of the Way of the Scorpion. You're dead. Maybe. Rin listens to your tale patiently and agrees to help you in any way he can. Quan is an honourable god and one whose followers fight well. I have trekked these lands and know the movements of the Bakemono tribes. I can guide you to a safe route ahead if you will travel with me. You need to get to Iga quickly and safely, but are used to journeying alone. We could agree to his help and possibly be led into a trap. This picture does not look very safe, but it seems to relate to the illustration above. Let's let him help us for now. I'm not sure we would travel that much more swiftly on our own. Before you leave with Rin, you undertake a quick search of the grove and the surrounding area, finding a dropped shuriken which you may take if you wish. You know what? That's probably a really good idea. Just because we might need it. We haven't gone particularly low on them yet, but they may be important at some point. We'll be like, do you have 4 shuriken left? Can you throw 3 at once? You know, things like that. You continue on with Rin leading the way. He leads you deeper into the woodland where shadows dance on the forest floor, cast by the swaying tree branches overhead, and damn it, my throat's starting to get dry again. I'll probably have to wrap this one in a bit in that case. You pass some time in conversation. Rin tells you that he earned his moniker Rin of the Three Blades in a sword duel. With my katana knocked from my grasp, I fought on with my wakizashi until it became tangled in my opponent's armour. In the end, I had to draw my knife to finish the fight, and I won. Rin begins to take a route through dense bushes, and he cautions you to avoid the spiked ferns that have shredded the lower part of the hakama tied around his legs. The Bakemono are out in massive numbers, more numerous than cherry blossoms in spring, he says, so I must lead you to the one place they are too superstitious to near. The ruins of Mishina. It once saved me from a tribe who were tracking me. The name of the city is familiar to you. It used to be the capital of the island until it was destroyed more than 300 years ago in the Great Civil War which ruined whole cities and clans. It is said to be a place of ill fortune that few seek out. But Rin assures you it is worth it to avoid the numerous tribes of savage Bakemono who now frequent the forests. Is he leading us into Moria, essentially? By mid-afternoon, your cross-country hike has led you out of the forest to an overgrown and broken stone road that leads to the ruined old capital of the island, Mishina. This... Oh, no picture. Okay. You know what? There's healing here. I want to end the session here, but next time I might think I've already taken back healing, so I'll read the section. It is twilight when you first sight the city of Mishina, with its crumbled walls and twisted wrecks of half-burnt buildings, a deformed parody of the majestic capital it once was. It was once the greatest jewel in this island before the most damnable war befouled it, Rin says. We should not enter, for it is said to be claimed only by the dead now, but as long as we are nearby, no Bakemono will disturb us. You both make camp a comfortable distance from the city, eating a meal of 7 spiced rice that Rin shares with you from his provisions. He insists that he takes first watch, saying you look exhausted from your struggles and you settle down for a brief sleep. You sleep fitfully, dreaming that you are treading water on a dark ocean. A ship cuts through the waves towards you, and on the prow, 2 familiar blood-red eyes suddenly blink open. Below them appears the dark pit of a mouth, darker than the ocean's depths, waiting to swallow you. You kick hard through the water, but you cannot escape the massive bulk of the ship as its mouth sucks you into an icy blackness. You awaken in a cold sweat. Despite your disturbing dream, you regain 4 points of lost endurance. Rin hurries over to you, his voice little more than a whisper. "Movement! Movement!" he says, pointing. "Over there by the city wall. Must go, quickly." By which I presume he means away from the city wall. Let's get those 4 endurance points back. That puts us in pretty good shape for someone who went all the way down to 3 earlier this episode. You stand and see the dark outline of hundreds of misshapen forms clambering over the remains of the city wall. They make a grotesque gnashing, gurgling noise as they draw near. You and Rin hurry into the forest, but a creature bursts out of the undergrowth to grab your comrade. Oh, yeah, that's not good. Oh, this is this picture, right? Yeah! Chicken Inky, apparently. Rin draws his katana to fight the abomination that is grabbing him. You step forward to help, but a second later, a grotesque creature steps out. Okay, so this has been the second bad sentence we've had recently, right? We had to near instead of to draw near, and now we have grotesque creature steps forth from out of the undergrowth before you. A grotesque creature, but a second. Okay, you step forward to help, but a second large grotesque creature steps out of the undergrowth before you. Should there be a comma after second before large? It is green, like a gangrenous wound, with a mouth of dagger-like teeth and no other evident facial features, save for pulsing pustules ready to burst. This is a Jikininki, a mutant offspring of the god Nil, mouth of the void. Are we going to get the blood of Nil from this encounter? A cruel abomination that wanders the wild places in search of the dead. You must defeat the Jikininki. We have no poisoned needles, but you know what? I think this is a good place to stop. We got a nice picture for the next thumbnail to use. Yeah, it's all good. Right. Well, this episode was all full of ups and downs, wasn't it? Blimey. I hope you all enjoyed this one, because it's been a bit of a wild ride, and I'll look forward to seeing you all in the next one. I'll say goodbye for now, though, and just go give my throat a bit of a rest. But remember, we're all ninjas.